And again, by doing those things I had stated before, being really aware of who you are as a person, staying really mindful, you'll find that that reality of the situation always stays detached from you because you're observing it. It's not becoming you. Hi guys, this is such a different video format for me. Don't know how I feel about it, we'll see how it goes. But I was just getting breakfast / lunch because I realized I should probably eat. I don't have any groceries in my apartment. What else is new? College life. Today the first thing that came to my mind when I was thinking of like what should I talk to y'all about was the art of detachment and just like all of the different dynamics within that. Okay, before that, let's get into some food because I'm hungry. Fruit, lover, and napkins. I'm not gonna eat that. An omelet and a brioche bun. I want to bite. So today we're going to be talking about the art of detachment. So what is the art of detachment? Honestly, I'm still learning a lot about it, but the art of detachment is basically being able to be present in everything, but realizing that you are not attached to everybody else's actions. You're not attached to your circumstances. Like, you are always an independent being from everything else. An example of like how that would work is, let's say that it's Monday, it's your exam week, you're ready to have your test, and you think your test is on Thursday, and then all of a sudden you find out that it's actually on Tuesday. So when you're super attached, that would like completely shut and remove the stress of that situation, which obviously there's going to be stress in that situation, we're still human, but the stress of that situation would impact you in a way where you would reflect what the situation is in your attitude and like how you feel on the inside. The situation is unexpected, like I have less time to study. That negativity of that would reflect in how you're feeling that day. Whereas like when you get to the point where you can master the art of detachment, you are always like your own being, you protect your peace, and this is a negative thing that's happening outside of you that now you have to deal with. It's not actually a part of you. So you're able to keep your peace and positivity, realizing like that in the grand scheme of things it sucks, but like the world is not ending, and you're able to look at that situation as something outside of you. So this is you. When you're attached, the bad situation comes onto you and you join together to solve it. When you master the art of detachment, the bad situation stays where it is and you are able to look at it from a completely outside perspective and deal with it in like the best way possible. And that also goes with good things. So let's say that you find out that you got a raise, and that's super exciting, super great. When you are really attached, that can lead to joy and like ecstasy, but that's uncontrolled in a bit, so that way when you come off of that high, that can be really unhealthy. But when you're able to master the detachment, again, you are your own separate being and you have this really happy experience and you're able to pull joy from it and enjoy it, but in a way where you're always stable because you always have yourself as the baseline. As you can see, like even from these examples, the biggest thing that makes this art of detachment like so like important and so helpful in life is the amount of stability that it will bring you. To be able to know that like you're always at a place where like you're gonna be good, like no matter what's happening around you, because you're not attached to your circumstance, is just such a beautiful thing. And I think it also can relate a lot back to, I'm a Christian, and it can relate a lot back to in scripture. It talks about how like we're just passing through earth. Obviously like we're made in the image of God, we're God's children, we're spirits first, and because of that we're just passing through. And I think that understanding that art of detachment is really just understanding that you are actually passing through. Everything that happens around you does not have to define like how you're feeling that day, because you're passing through. Obviously like stress is going to happen. We can't act like we're not human and like we don't deal with it, but when you're able to deal with it from a detached perspective of I'm just passing through, life is just so much more peaceful and it's just easier to enjoy your life because you're not stressing about every little thing. And also in that, I think it opens up your heart. It gives your heart more space to just accept that the joy that God does have for you in your life, because you're not taking on responsibility that is not yours. when you're living in too much attachment, you're acting as if you have any say over how things will turn out in your life, which you obviously don't. Like, that's God's job, not yours, at the end of the day. So when you're able to detach, in a way, you're understanding your place, that you are a creation and you are more of a recipient of what's happening around you, that God is dictating, and that he never made it your job for the stresses, anxiety, and things of this world to come onto you. Like, God took the condemnation of the world upon himself, so you did not have to. By mastering the art of detachment, you realize your place as a recipient of your circumstance that's able to just enjoy life freely, really. Another part about the art of detachment that's really important to know is that in the art of detachment, you're also detached from the future. I'll be vulnerable. I know for me, especially just because of a lot of bad experiences, I really hate getting attached to people. And when I realize that I'm starting to get too attached to a person, I really like to find any reason that would make it seem like it's a good idea for me to just like run the other way and just leave, because it's so scary. But I realized earlier today that my fear of getting attached to somebody who can be actually good for me is just because I have not mastered the art of detachment in the area of like what's going to happen in the future. I haven't mastered the art of detachment in human connection. And basically what that means is that I'm so attached to human connection that I am too scared to have it. And human connection is like this with me. Like, if something goes bad with a human connection that I am attached to, instead of looking at it from that outside perspective, I will attach with it and like just, if I'm so attached to humans, when like connections, when I am attached to somebody, that if something goes wrong in the relationship, I feel it so deep that I know it'll mess with me and my peace, but it does not have to. And it's so ironic because I know for myself, like, mastering the art of detachment in relationships will mean that I can freely be attached to people and freely love people without the fear of like what'll happen if things go wrong, X, Y, and Z. It won't matter because I'm detached from my attachment of human connection. So I'm able to attach to people freely because my attachment to others isn't me. And I think that that's something, now that I realize, is something I definitely am gonna have to like pray about and think through, because I don't want to be limiting myself to people that I can't actually have genuine connections with. Because that's what I realized, like, when you are too attached to relationships with other people, you're only going to let yourself connect, or sometimes it depends on how you deal with, you know, your issues. But one of the ways is you're only going to let yourself connect to people that you know, like, you can't actually have genuine, long-lasting connections with, because then you don't have to worry about becoming too attached, because there's not a genuine reason to. And when you come across people who are actually healthy for you to be genuinely attached to, it's like, let me leave, like, let's go, like, let's run the other way. In this book, 4 Agreements, one of my favorite books, one of the agreements is don't take anything personally. And basically it says, what others say and do is a projection of their own reality, their own dream. When you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. And I think that being immune to the opinions and actions of others is having that ability, you know, to detach and to realize that everyone really is living in their own reality, and you can accept that yours is yours to create. Y'all, I know we all know some crazy people, okay? Like, I know we all know some crazy people, and you're like, how are they living like this? Like, how is that your mindset? Because we all have the ability to create. You can create your own reality, as out there as it may seem. And you can also create your own reality as like peaceful and loving as you want it to be. So when you understand that, like, we all live in our own separate realities, and you can protect your own, and you can see other people as being just as important and valuable as you, just that they also have their own realities, then you can be detached in a way that's just super realistic and like super sober-minded of like what's actually going on. This Canadian bacon is so freaking good. So the last thing I'll talk about is just ways to practice detachment, things that help me be able to become better at this, even though I'm not perfect by any means. So So one thing that really helps is mindfulness and journaling. So I think that like you can't really change your mindset if you don't know what your mindset is. So you really gotta sit down and realize like, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Write down lists of like everything that you remember that significantly hurt you, and accept like that stuff happens to people, stuff has happened to you. Accept what your traumas might be that can cause you not to relate to people and the world around you in the best way. So that's just the first thing, you know. Maybe start once a week journaling. Try sitting and meditating and just being quiet in your mind for like 5 minutes every day, and see how much it'll change your life. I'll make a video about that later, but like seriously, see how much it'll change your life. Just becoming more cognizant of your own mental state, that's the first step for sure. I think the second thing that can help a lot is, all right, I ran out of space on my card, but this video is getting done. It's getting done regardless. So the second thing, you need to have some type of foundation for what you expect your perspective of yourself to look like and your perspective of reality to look like. Like, you can try coming up with your own if you want, but it's not going to work very well, because it's very easy for us human beings to just change like with the wind. We're not really independent mentally, if you really think about it. Like, everything that you are, everything that I am is a product of my reality and like what I've just consumed over time. Honestly, like, that's what it is. I would not really be sitting here talking about, you know, the art of detachment if I hadn't learned about it. I wouldn't really be here talking about God and my faith if I hadn't been fed it like from a very young age, or if I hadn't experienced God for myself. So it's really important to find something that can be your foundation in that way. I'm a Christian, so I know that like when I'm thinking like, how am I supposed to view myself, like not from what I've been through, but just from who I am as a person. How am I supposed to detach from all of these other external things that are telling me who I'm supposed to be and just be my most genuine self? I can think, okay, I'm supposed to love myself. I'm supposed to be patient with myself and others. I'm supposed to be living in the joy that God has given me. I'm supposed to stay sober-minded, to stay focused. I'm supposed to love my neighbor as myself. I'm supposed to be eternally focused. I know that this earth is not my home. Things like that, like just having those very set, some type of foundation for like how you want to see yourself is just super important, so that way you can have an idea of like where I am right now, where I want to be ideally. So having that balance is super important. The third and final step that I will give, obviously there's more steps, but like the third piece of advice that I really have right now is to have some type of system for just how you process things that you're dealing with. So like for me, I think this kind of developed naturally in a way, but if you need to like write it out for yourself, definitely do that too. I know I wrote out like questions to ask myself before making a decision. Like that was really helpful for me. The main thing I do is I realize like what's happening. And then the second thing I do is I allow myself to process my immediate emotions. Like being detached is not like being a robot. Like when something happens initially, or like when I feel myself getting too attached to somebody, or if something bad happens, I still have those initial emotions of like, what the heck is happening? Like my world is falling apart type thing. But when you're able to like accept that instead of running away from it is when you can actually change anything about your life, if you know what I mean. The next step would be to then look at like the facts and the reality of the situation. So yes, I feel this way, but what's actually going on? And just again, staying sober-minded and being able to focus on like what's really happening. Am I over exaggerating? Maybe. So that's the second part. And then the third part is finding that balance between the two and accepting the reality instead of accepting your feelings. If we live by our feelings, we're gonna be like up, down, all around, like all the time. But when you can live according to like what's actually going on and according to reality, then you're able to stay much more grounded. And again, by doing those things I had stated before, being really aware of who you are as a person, staying really mindful, you'll find that that reality of the situation always stays detached from you because you're observing it. It's not becoming you. And so when you like go through those more observational steps of dealing with things instead of internalizing it, that I think is what over time has really allowed me to detach from a lot of things in a healthy way while still being able to experience life like to the fullest, not being a robot, but just being very cognizant of like my place in the world. So yeah, I don't know how this came out. I really hope y'all could hear me. We'll see. But yeah, this is really fun. I liked just sitting outside and talking. If y'all have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. But yeah, I really hope y'all enjoyed this. Let me know if you want me to make more videos like this, and I will see you in the next one.